be smuggled, then we then need to ask ourselves, because that's we're majorly subsidized. I've always said that, look, 30 criminals about
ports it, they destroyed the vessel.
That vessel was caught stealing crude, is that the vessel has been destroyed.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we have ever reviewed paper. It's a criminal matter. But the only thing we hear is that, a vessel was caught, and the vessel loaded the thing from. Do we have a follow-up? So, you know, when you hear some of these reports, it gives smuggling, because it now means that you are not even ready to prosecute.
The stories, we have this headline here: NLC meets governors over fuel subsidy palliatives. Now, weeks after the removal of state governors government on ways to cushion the effect of the removal of fuel, state governors over plans to cushion the effect of subsidy. Some state governments, such as Kwara, Edo, Taraba, among others, have announced special intervention for reinforces your initial thoughts that the Labour Congress might be fighting for just themselves and their workers and not necessarily the people in people. But the Labour Congress is still meeting with them because interpret this.
As I even limited to people in the civil service. I'm not sure they're going to be able to really fight for people who are in the private sector, because you have some private sectors who are also members of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the TUC.
Right.
Because again, when it comes to the private sector, it has to be the employer looking at his own books, checking the bottom line to see whether there's anything that can be done. Again, we must also remember that employers at this time are also facing the brunt.
Yes.
The cost of energy is going up, cost of production is going up, the forex issues is not even making manufacturers have a breathing space to be able to do any kind of effect, subsidy cushioning and all of that. So the best that the Labour can do, which has been their major talking point, is talk about salary increment, raising the minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 200,000 naira. And I think the doctors, you also have different organized labor also coming up with their own demand.
Yes.
The doctors are talking about 500% increment in salary.
Yeah, 550.
But let me tell you again, like you said, I said this and I'll repeat it again. The government after over 40 days, announcing the subsidy, has not been able to say anything about what they want to do, whether you call it palliative, whether you call it cushioning measures and all of that. I've not been able to announce anything. Tells you the reality of the situation at this time. There's nothing to announce. That's not the reality. Anybody can take me up on it. And I explained the last time when we had the same conversation that the easiest way that the government could have helped to cushion the effect of subsidy removal was to look at the transportation sector. But that would have been easy if we have an organized public transportation system. And I say it again, the only state that has a semblance, it's not even organized, that has a semblance of a structured transportation system.
Lagos, right?
But it's Lagos, and it's not even structured. So how do you now, look, whatever the government is saving now from subsidy removal, if they decide to deploy it into cushioning the effect, which areas are they going to deploy the money to? How do they want to deploy the money? Are we going to talk about food subsidy? Stage. Okay, how do you subsidize food now? If the government decides that, okay, they want to subsidize the cost of food, food products and all of that, how would they go about it? If they decide to subsidize the health sector, which again should be easy to handle, how are they going to go about it? Are they going to declare free health care to all Nigerians? Then the question again, how many of the federal government hospitals are even available across the state that can take care of the number of Nigerians that need health care? A lot of the state-run hospitals are in a complete state of disrepair. I think last week we did a story, if you remember, where doctors are already saying that patients now, when they come for consultation, immediately you give them a prescription, and that's why these things should have been methodical. You think it through, you understand what you are getting into, and then you see, policies are all things you rush into. I was telling a group of journalists recently when we were discussing this issue, and I said that for President Muhammadu Buhari, the former president, to have refused to be decisive on the issue of subsidy for 80 years, I expected that President Tinubu to have been very conscious about that particular policy. It is what it is. He has announced the way he has announced it. The singular question that Nigerians are asking him now is out.
Particular meant by operationalize the Nigeria Constitution, where members of the National Assembly fix their own salaries in clear usurpation of the duty of the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission. Now, the ex-president in his remarks says, by the Nigerian Constitution, the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission is supposed to fix the salaries and emolument of end of quote. Fuad, is this a matter that we should take extremely, should I say, seriously? I know it's a serious matter, but then what is the implication of this? I think that's what I'm trying to ask, where lawmakers fix their own salary, and former president is highlighting that this is a complete contravention of what the law provides. It's not your place to fix your own salary. What is the implication of this action that has been taken by the lawmakers?
Well, it's a violation of the principles of the law. It's as simple as that. Because RMFAC is supposed to fix the question is this, because fixing object. So commission is saying, so expenditure, finance, and all of that from that perspective that they are adequately budgeted for. They have enough budgeted for them, and basically what they did is to say, look, forget about what RMFAC is the application of the law. But the question is this: say, government that this has been happening. What did they do about it? This could be challenged in court. And I think this is where, for example, we should have the organized labor very active. We should also have civil society organizations taking these kinds of cases up in the court of law to challenge it. That's why we keep commending Sarah was able to get the federal high court to also say that, look, this government should investigate, all of the returns, the Abacha
loot, yeah.
So this is also a challenge that I think a civil society organization can pick up in a law court to challenge the decision of the lawmakers to fix their own salary. Again, we can take the message, but I have my issue with the message.
Leave the message, let's leave the message, let's just focus.
Now, on this one, I take the message. But I have my bias against the message on this particular one.
Let's focus on what the message is.
And it's my own right to have that bias, and I'm not sorry about it.
All right, then. You're still listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We are on social media, Twitter at Mainland FM, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. So you can very well participate via social media. That's if you're probably on the road and you don't want to listen to the radio, or you're busy, or you don't have access to your terrestrial radio. Just go straight to social media, Twitter, Facebook, as well as YouTube, and you can definitely participate. It's still Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is SAGE Babalola, and Fuad Saheed is also on the line, and we are conversing on the reports that have made it to the front pages of our dailies. Now, moving forward, we're still analyzing the Punch newspaper. Moving forward, on page 8, still, Elebwibon chides Emir for stopping Isheshe festival. That's the headline. The story: renowned Ifa priest Chief Ifayemi Elebwibon has urged federal and state government to caution the Emir of Ilorin, Alhaji Ibrahim Sulu Gambari, and Islamic clerics in the town against action that could breach freedom of association in the town. He was reacting to the cancellation of Isheshe festival in Ilorin after a traditionalist, Ajeshikemi Omolara, was threatened by an Islamic group reportedly backed by the Emir not to go ahead with the traditional festival. I don't know if you heard this story. It's actually been in the news a while. It was not on the headline. It was not on the headline, but it was reported there where a particular traditionalist wanted to carry out a festival, but then Islamic bodies came together and they had a conversation with her that this is not a practice that is acceptable. You can go on ahead and carry out your festival in private, but we don't accommodate such in Ilorin specifically. They don't say in the entire state, but in Ilorin we don't accept this practice. And now we have Elebwibon, who is saying this is a contravention of the law. The law says that there's freedom of religion, plus it's a secular state. There's no, should I say, mono practice of any religion and what have you, and he's asking that the government do what the law expects of them when it comes to the freedom to practice religion. Is this a sentiment that you can agree with?
Yes, I understand that the Constitution guarantees freedom of association, freedom of religious practice, and all of that. But again, we must understand that the Constitution is not oblivious of the sentiments of the people, especially when it comes to their cultural sentiments, religious sentiments, and the sentiments within the environment that you find yourself. The argument has always been that, look, Ilorin itself is seen as almost like an Islamic caliphate. Because you may ask yourself, why is the traditional ruler bearing the title Emir? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And recently when the question came up about what the roles of traditional rulers are supposed to be, I said, look, they are supposed to be the custodians of our culture and tradition. So if the Emir of Ilorin, for example, feels the culture of the people in Ilorin is such that such practices is seen as an aberration, then I'm sorry, it will be difficult for me to challenge such a sentiment. Because again, laws are supposed to guarantee the wishes and aspirations of the people. So if the majority of the people in Ilorin feel that, look, such idol practices goes against their sentiments, goes against their cultural practice, goes against their belief as a people, then again, we have to be a bit careful in jumping to conclusion on this particular one. You understand what I'm saying? And again, I don't know, Ilorin has been a very peaceful town. Very peaceful. It's not one of those towns you hear of religious crisis, cultural crisis, and all of these kinds of things. Although there are a lot of historical challenges, historical rhetoric out there about who actually owns Ilorin or who doesn't own Ilorin, or how did it become a city that is now governed by an emir and all of that. But the reality is that, look, from the emir to everybody in Ilorin, I think the most important thing is that, look, the sustenance of the peace. And that's why that state is called the state of harmony. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that, look, the emir has spoken. Whoever wants to do their isheshe and all of that should also be careful. Look at the beliefs of the people, majority of the people, their sentiment towards such a thing, so that we don't have a needless crisis again in Ilorin. I think that, look, we should do whatever will maintain the peace in that particular city.
Should the belief of the majority, in this case, can the belief of the majority trump the law? Because this Eleburibo is actually citing the law in his argument. He's saying what the law says. So that's why I'm asking the question: should the belief of the majority trump the law?
You see, the law does not exist in isolation, stage.
Right.
Again, the law is a law. Yes, I agree, but it does not exist in isolation. And again, laws are also a reflection of the people's beliefs and their cultural. For those of us who understand some of them, again, maintain some level of peace and tell you that, look,
get full details on that particular story. We're still reviewing the Punch newspaper. Now we're going to known persons have allegedly carted away the recently reinstalled airfield lighting system at the domestic runway 1836L of Murtala Mohammed Airport. The Punch gathered that the disappearance of the approach lighting system had raised security concerns in Nigeria's busiest airport. According to a source who spoke on condition of anonymity, those who carted away the lighting system took advantage of the closure of the runway for over 3 months. Now, some fan workers connived with outsiders to steal the airport lighting equipment. That's what the source, who pled anonymity, is saying. Now, so far so good. FAN has suspended the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Aviation. Okay, and also they've suspended the security operatives that were on duty that particular day, and just a number of people have been suspended basically. So, no, not the Ministry of Aviation was suspended. That's what I was trying to get clarity on. Heads of relevant department of FAN, have been suspended on the directive of the permanent secretary. The permanent secretary was not suspended. Head of departments were suspended on his authority. I needed to clarify that. That was the reason for the pause. So, Fuad, now the interesting part of the story is that this particular light that was stolen, for 15 years, the airport's domestic runway was shut down to night operation due to the absence of airfield lighting. So I need to understand. I need to understand. So for 15 years, night operations were suspended because there was no light. So they finally put the airfield light, and it has been stolen. Fuad. I can understand you need to laugh. That's
well, I understand the permanent secretary is suspending every department that is connected to this particular issue. But beyond suspension is a complete embarrassment, really, because you ask yourself, what manner of security are we providing in our airport? Again, the Murtala Mohammed International Airport is the busiest that we have in the country. And so if that particular runway was shut for 3 months, are we saying that shutting a runway means we should also shut down all security arrangements around it? Where are the CCTV cameras, for example, for surveillance? Because again, even at night, CCTV cameras using infrared light to pick things and all of that. So are we saying that there's no control room, for example, where you have cameras installed in different parts of the airport and somebody's manning it?
Well, there were security men there. I'm so sorry. There were actually security men on ground. They've been suspended too.
Security men have limitations to what they can see. It's about their own eye view, right? It's about the extent by which your eye can capture your environment.
Yes.
And that's why technology has come to help. That's why you install cameras, you ensure the cameras are working, and there's a control monitoring room. You understand? Even offices have CCTV installed. For you can see offices are even enclosed, how much for a very wide area, like an airport. So the question is, what manner of security do we have in our airport? Because look, you can have men deployed. Look, then a limitation will say they can even sleep off. And again, the allegations of this anonymous source is something that we also have to look at critically, because before these kinds of things can happen, I suspect an inside job.
Right.
Because removing these airfield lights and all of that will take maybe hours.
Yeah, I mean, you can't put it in your pocket. So obviously.
And then to even remove it will take hours and all of that. So, but this has to be investigated, because again, it only highlights the level of insecurity we have in our public spaces. And where you don't even want to risk things like this would have to be an airport. If people can breach the airport, steal things like this, then what manner of safety are we talking about, as provided in this airport? It's a very embarrassing one. I think that we should get to the bottom of this.
Right. Page 9 of the Punch newspaper, you find details. Moving forward, Fayose will pay for working against Atiku, PDP NEC member. Now, following the confession by former Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose that he worked against the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, a member of the party's National Executive Committee, Timothy Osadolo, has said the leadership of the PDP will address the issue very soon. Now, although the PDP National Publicity Secretary Debo Olugwagba and his deputy Ibrahim Abdullahi were not available for comment, Osadolo, who doubles as the party's deputy national youth leader, described fighting to convince those who did not vote. So, Fuad, it seems that confession participating in anti-party.
You see that you suspend.
You don't even raise
the one thing. And he's not the only one. And even the governor of your state.
All right.
Today also worked again enough to suspend all of these people. Do not be limited to fire. They should suspend. I want to see how serious the PDP is. If they can suspend Sheyi Makinde, for example, suspend Wike.
Tell them now.
They say they will pay dearly. I
would do anything now.
Going to extinction. They are already on the path of it, where we have a president that understands the game of politics like the back of his hand. We are going to see a situation where the PDP would go into perpetual, and I've marked my word, perpetual extinction. Unfortunately, the Labour Party is also treading that path now. I think it's one of our callers that said something very brilliant yesterday about the Labour Party, or was it on Sunday? That look, the reason why the Labour Party cannot be relied on as an opposition party is that look, the major political gladiator in that party borrowed that platform. He doesn't own the platform. And that's Mr. Peter Obi. And he may get to a point where he might even look at his options and say that look, I'm at the wrong place. So I have my fears for, and I said it and I'll repeat it again. This is the most disorganized opposition or opposition situation we have ever had in the history of Nigeria. Where opposition figures come out boldly. Sometimes you have opposition figures doing things like this, and out of shame they just hide it.
Right.
There's always that anti-party activity is a normal thing. You have moves within the system and all of that. But this is the first time, I'm seeing situations where party members are boldly coming out to say that look, they work against the interests of their party. There determine the consequence or consequences that will come from it. I said, look, I think Nigerians should brace up for taking care of themselves when it comes to expecting a voice to speak for them. If they are expecting that any of these parties, not the PDP, will survive as an opposition party in the next 4 years, I think we have a routine. It's just unfortunate because, again, what then is a democracy without a vibrant opposition? Right. It's unfortunate thing.
Well, page 18 of the Punch newspaper is where you find details. PDP demands transparency as Akeredolu extend sick leave. Let's talk Ondo politics. Now, the Ondo State People's Democratic Party on Monday said it has been vindicated by the request of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu for an extension of his sick leave. It demanded that the government should come clean on the state of health of the governor rather than deceiving the people. Now, his deputy, Honorable Loki Ayedatiwa, will continue to act as governor until there's a written declaration to the contrary. So now questions are being asked about the real state of health of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu. Come clean, tell us what is really going on. That is what is being demanded as at now by the Ondo State People's Democratic Party. Fuad, briefly, would you like to comment on that, please?
Yeah, no, well, again, the extension of
sick leave
time sick leave is still within the law. There was this discussion about coming up saying or whether there was a plan to impeach.
Fuad, the connection isn't very great.
Sorry?
We can't really hear you. It's muffled.
Is it now?
No, not necessarily, no.
Okay. Let me try and shift my position
yes.
And see. Okay. Is it any better?
Yes, it's good now.
Okay. Before now there was this talk about whether the deputy was there was an attempt to impeach the deputy.
Yes. Deputy was trying to usurp power. Yeah.
And all of that. A lot of politics going on. Again, we have to say this. I think it's crystal clear that Arakuri, as he likes to be called, Akeredolu has health challenges that has taken away from public glare, has hampered his functions, as the governor of that state. But again, it would only be an appeal because the decision has to be made only by him, or if the National State Assembly decides to take actions against him. I think he needs to hand over properly. I think stay away from government to attend to his health. If governance really is about the people and not about some other interest that we don't know about, at this stage, I think the governor needs to take a decision to focus on his health and allow the deputy governor to be sworn in as governor. But again, politics is not as easy as we say from this side of the divide.
Right.
Politicians have a whole lot of things that go into power. They understand the effects of power, they understand the positioning when it comes to power, and the calculations are bigger than what we see. Because again, I'm sure that maybe Akeredolu has a successor already. And if the deputy takes over power, that arrangement may just become a problem. So, but again, ultimately, I think it has to be the interest of the state that should matter now. If he has serious health challenges, I think the best thing would be for him to just hand over to the deputy, let him continue as governor for the rest of his tenure, so that he can face his health. But again, it's easy for me to say this as a journalist. Say, politicians don't think this way. Their own thinking is different.
Right.
It's not. I'm sure that even as the deputy is there are people monitoring him and feeding the governor on his daily activity. Anyways, I think the interest of Ondo people should be the most paramount thing.
Yes.
And I think Akeredolu can decide to, be selfless. Think about the interest of the state more than his own personal interest.
Right. Initially, when you said that it was still within the the time permitted for him to be away, actually the initial request for a sick leave was between June 5 and July 6. So he was supposed to have resumed on the 6th of July.
He has extended
and this
now.
Is 11. So he's extending, and like you said, let's see what's going to happen. It's not that easy. Right, the way we say it, we might think that's the right thing, but there are many factors that they consider when they make all these political decisions.
You know, say like we say in the street, go easy at the Bagbarale.
The Punch newspaper, we have it, and now we're moving very briefly to the Nation newspaper. Trends in the papers is what you're still listening to on Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is SAGE Babalola, and I'm still talking to Fuhad Saheed. We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, so please go there and engage with us. Mainland 98.3 FM. You can also tweet. The conversation continues on social media, Twitter at Mainland FM. Very briefly, let's look through the Nation newspaper. The headline here, one we've already addressed earlier: 80,000 liters vessel with stolen crude oil crude intercepted, destroyed. NNPCL security raises bar in crude theft battle. 64 illegal crude joints found. 77 illegal refineries destroyed. Fuad, I can understand, okay, they're destroying vessels, which you've even said is not something that is reasonable, because this is evidence that we present in
because again, I read through the report, and it was really nothing about
there was nothing specific about the arrest of certain individuals.
No, the vessel cannot, the vessel cannot, the vessel is not on its own.
Right.
It cannot drive itself. There are human means there.
Right.
And then where did the vessel load that product from?
Ondo State.
And so why destroy evidence? Who are the people that loaded it? Where exactly did it load from? Were arrests made? I don't know this idea of you know the word. Again, check out the word intercepted and destroyed. It should be arrested and then return to Ondo State and then arrest people that are involved. You intercept and destroy. How does that even make any sense? And then the crude is wasted, Abby.
Okay, well, the Nation is actually saying that they were apprehended. The captain and the crew members on board as well were apprehended. So that's what the Nation says.
So we should see some prosecution.
Yes, we should. The Nation
and not just prosecute. Who is the owner of the vessel?
The Punch provided the name of the particular organization. Actually, they provided the name, and they also said the suspect, or further investigation revealed that they actually loaded from Ondo State. So since they have that information and is out in the public, like you said,
I think we should get more arrests and then prosecution, serious prosecution, to serve as deterrent to others.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. Well, that's it for that. We have this headline here: Tinubu targets 30 trillion revenue in 3 years. Plans technology and data-driven approach. FIRS, Customs, NIMASA, others will not be merged. The presidency plans to double the nation's revenue within 3 years. According to him, non-tax revenue will be the driving force, adding that attention will be given to the organized collection in line with the Constitution, which indicates that all collectible revenue will be channeled into the Federation's account. So they're not going to merge all these tax collection bodies. That's not what they're going to do. What's just going to happen is that all of the funds collected will be channeled directly into the Federation account. So that's basically it. Contrary to the initial opinion that why don't we merge all the tax collection bodies, their idea is, instead of merging them, why don't we just ensure that all of the revenue they collect is remitted properly into the Federation account. And he believes that this particular idea, with the incorporation of technology and data, we should be able to make at least 30 trillion naira in 3 years.
There are still questions about the TSA, the Treasury Single Account,
right,
initiated during the Jonathan era. Is that still in operations? Are we still operating the Treasury Single Account?
I wonder.
Because in recent time we've been having questions about remittances, no remittance. Because the idea with Treasury Single Account is that, look, every revenue of government goes forth into that pot. Then at the end of the month, it is announced that, look, collectively as a revenue, this is what the government has made, before we now begin to share. But I doubt that we are still operating the Treasury Single Account, because we've been having cases of, this agency did not remit, that one did not remit. You understand what I'm, because the idea was to look, every payment that goes into government must first go to that Treasury Single Account. So that you can say, okay, this is what we have been able to get at the end of the month. But again, too many questions about things that we don't have answers to.
Well, again, we'll just have to wait and see. I guess somebody would have to answer these questions. That is on page 4 of the Nation. We've addressed this as well. Obasanjo lashes lawmakers for fixing own pay. Now we have here, United States waives export duty on cocoa, economy gets a boost. So this is like interesting to read, because the United States, Joe Biden has said that we will not be paying export duty on cocoa, and this is one of the plans to show that the United States is really behind us in our desire to improve our economy. So what they can do is, when we export cocoa to the United States, instead of paying hefty export fee, they would waive it, so we don't have to pay those export fee, and we can maximize the profit that we get from exportation. This sounds good, but then fingers crossed if we're really going to harness this opportunity that has been given to us.
One would assume that again, it is a good one if, of course, they are relaxing some of the things we need to pay to bring cocoa into their country.
Right.
But the question again is, I assume that they also need that product.
Yeah, chocolate and what have you, they use it for it.
So they need it, So it's a good one for us because we don't have to pay more, we make money.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
So I think that they also need the product,
Right. Well, okay. You can get more information on page 7 of the Nation newspaper. That's about it for the Nation. Okay, court orders INEC to suspend Adamawa Rex prosecution. I think Benani, Aisha Dahiru, aka Benani, she approached the court and pled that there should be a suspension on the prosecution of Yunusa Ari, who illegally announced her as the winner of the Adamawa gubernatorial election that we just concluded. So apparently the court has asked INEC to suspend the prosecution for now. We don't know what that move is going to lead to, but there has been a suspension of this prosecution.
Well, it was an ex parte order. INEC had announced that Yunusa Ari, the Adamawa suspended Adamawa Rek, was going to be prosecuted. The prosecution was going to start. But again, an ex parte order was gotten, and the basis of that was that, look, there's a case in court already.
Yes.
On that particular issue, Aisha Binani, that Aisha Binani is still in court on the fact that, look, our announcement was legal or illegal. And so the court is saying that, look, you cannot prosecute this man since there's already a case concerning what he did at that time, and all of that, But again, INEC can decide to vacate that ex parte order.
Well,
we'll be waiting to see whether INEC will go further to fight that ex parte order to ensure that is prosecuted.
At page 5 of the Nation, you get more information. Very briefly now, let's check Vanguard. Top story: corruption ugliest face was under Buhari, says Kuka. So this is a lengthy read. Unfortunately, time will not allow us the opportunity to get through every single detail in this particular. So yes, that's what I'm saying. Let's just get straight into it. In fact, Femi Falana's son has said that when we have leaders who have cases, they're being charged for financial crimes and they're occupying a position of power, that we are sending this wrong signal to those who intend to commit a crime, and that's why crime continues to continues to be an issue in the country. What do you think about that?
Father Martin Kuka was, he has been a major critic. He's one of the biggest critics of the Buhari government, and he doesn't shy away from the fact that he felt that the Buhari government was a complete failure. I'm talking about Kuka now. In several of his tirades and statements and articles, he has always talked about the fact that the Buhari government, failed Nigerians. And yesterday, at the 60-year celebration of SAGE Babalola, 60 years at the bar, he was a keynote speaker, and he said a whole lot. Olusegun Obasanjo was also at that event. Femi Falana was there. But the high point for me was this issue of corruption, saying that, look, the Buhari government was the most corrupt. He talked about the fact that, look, a lot of the ministers were so powerful, and that because of that, they had the opportunity to, steal the country dry, at least boldly, national state has been given to President.
When we come back for mainland focus, I guess we can address this. FM.